This ain't your dad's movie.
Oh, exactly. Like, tell grandma we got a new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
Channel.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
What's up, everybody? It's one fucking hour time. My name is Evan Husney, and of course, this is the show where we talk about one movie, and we have just one fucking hour to do it. We got to my left over here, we got Mr. Tom Fitzgerald, Big T. What's going on, T?
Hi, everybody. Here we go.
Here we go.
This day's finally arrived. We're doing Fight Club.
Yeah, here it is.
That's right, folks. You heard right.
Oh, my God. Here we go. Let me introduce to my right here. We have, as always, his name is Robert Paulson. Just kidding. We got Mr. Marcus Herring. Marcus,
I was hoping someone would squeeze in a good line for the intro. It is kind of weird that we're doing this one and it's not our last episode. You know, like it seems like this would be the movie that you would do after you've just run out of every other option.
like turn off the lights.
All right, we've done every film ever, and now Fight Club.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know.
It might burn us. Okay. It might burn it all down with Fight Club, right? Like the end.
Right,
you know,
right,
it's
right.
like the towers of one fucking hour. You know,
It's going to be fun. We're going to go on a wild journey with this one.
we are. Yeah, we definitely are. Strap in. Because you know what? Because we've been doing, I'm sure you've been following along, but this whole month, the last 4 weeks have been films from 1999. And it's been this, we're going to get into it in the hour, of course, but it's been a very interesting journey, sort of rewatching these movies, you know, some of which we haven't seen in many years. Of course, we started this whole thing off with The Matrix, right? That was my birthday pick. Very fun time capsule journey. There.
Just as good as we remember it.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Even better, actually. And then we did fucking Election, which actually for me is better than when I
Better than
saw
ever.
it. Better than ever. I love Election. I always love it. And then we did last week being John Malkovich, which after the spoiler alert, but after rewatching Fight Club, I actually liked being John Malkovich more.
I mean, how could you not?
I know, I did, but
I understand what your point is.
Okay,
you know, like the spectrum of what the gifts of 1999 and how they interrelate. I got you.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Yeah,
What's weird is that they're all the same movie, basically. Well, except for Election, but the other three, it turns out they're all.
There's a lot of similarities.
There's a lot of similarities going on. We're going to get into that as well. But all of those episodes are in the archive, of course, if you haven't been following along. But yeah, man, we've been doing it with 1999. And speaking of 1999, good segue here into the one fucking hour Patreon, which is where we are putting up all of our new bonus episodes and feature-length audio commentaries. Shout out, got a handful of more Patrons over the last week, so that's pretty sweet. It's just $5 a month. You can sign up for that and get access to all that shit. And available right now, as we are speaking, is our brand new bonus episode where me, Tom, Marcus, we went to town on just all the films from 1999 that we didn't kind of cover in long form. So we rapid fired all the other flicks. Blair Witch Project, we talked about Office Space. Holy shit.
Oh,
that might be
like 20 minutes on Phantom Menace. For like 1 second, I got giddy and got like Star Wars chills, like, but then I was otherwise like, I mean, you're getting assaulted. It's Jar Jar. But the worst for me was like the little Anakin, like, Annie, get over here. Dinner's ready. And so, but I wasn't the only one because we get out of the movie and I was with some big Star Wars nerds and they were everywhere. And everyone was like, yeah. I mean, hey, it's great. I mean, I think I need to see it again, which is what I was saying. Cause they're like processing like that kind of sucked balls. Like,
so definitely if you want to hear us, it's the one fucking hour after hours bonus episode. Of course, just us on 1999. That is available now on the Patreon. Or if you'd like to keep all your shit simple on YouTube, you can click underneath this video. Click the join button, and you can become a Moman of our show. Also for $5 a month. Same perks, same shit. However you want to do it, doesn't matter to us. So again, or patreon.com/onefuckinghour. So, all right, guys, should we get into this? Should we fucking do this?
Let's do it. Wait, let's go to the beginning.
Okay.
No, wait, back up. Let me start earlier.
Forget it.
Yeah, right.
It's just like like
you met me at a really weird time.
Yeah,
the movie's slipping around.
Right. Yeah, like the narration coming in. Okay.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay. Well, here we go. Here's the clock, and let's do it. One fucking hour in Fight Club, y'all. Here we go.
Okay.
Boom. All right. Guys, we don't need to fucking synopsis this film. It's everybody knows what fucking Fight Club is, right? I mean, come on. Normally we kind of give a background on each of the movies before we start, but I kind of figured that, this is one of those films where everybody knows Fight Club. So let's not waste any time and let's get into it. So as we did with last week's episode on Being John Malkovich, we sort of did what we called, what was it, Tom? It's called...
It's the Rewatch Roundtable.
Right. Which is kind of through the lens that we're going to be evaluating tonight's movie. Sort of looking back at it after not seeing it for many years. How does it hold up? Compared to when you saw it in 1999 till now. So I think we should sort of go around the room and talk about
kind of like we're at a table.
Yeah, round table. What our sort of reaction is to seeing it after so long. So, Tom, I'll start off with you. What was your rewatch roundtable reaction to?
Okay. Well, all right. So, I'll tease in my origin story a little bit, but
sure,
I'll get to that later. My origin story, but
okay.
I've had a long journey with this film, and I had a special time with my origin, meaning the first time I saw it in a theater, like the day it came out or something. Okay.
Right.
But then I just watched it this afternoon, and it's been a long time, maybe 10 years, but I have seen it a bunch in the decade that since it had come out, but not in a long time. I don't know, man. I mean, it's you could easily say all this stuff like it hasn't aged well, and I guess sure, like some of the fashion and some of the stylistic points are already super dated feeling, but I'm forgiving of that. I don't care so much. But like what I wasn't identifying when I was first kind of seeing it and enjoying it, I'm seeing now, maybe just because I'm older or something. And I don't want to get into MAGA and like alt-right stuff, because I think that's kind of deceptive in how that gets barnacled and affixed to this film. I think because the term snowflake originates from this film, actually.
You are not a beautiful or unique snowflake. You are the same decaying organic matter as everything else.
Stuff like that. And it's like, I think it's more complicated. And actually, I'm sorry I don't want to immediately bog down in this stuff in its cultural context, but that is kind of my main takeaway, because this is a weird film because it's a philosophical film, is what I'm saying. There's not about people and really characters. Ed Norton's not that much of a character. Everyone's representing something, and his alter ego is representing something. So what is the philosophy of this film? And then you really go, not even to Fincher, but you're going to the writer. What's his name? Chuck
Palahniuk.
Chuck Palahniuk. So really it's like the heart and soul of Chuck Palahniuk. I haven't read his stuff. I haven't read Fight Club, the book.
Right.
But it's like, where is he coming from? And I think it's just what I was saying is it's much too simple to just be like, oh, it's like proto MAGA alt-right. It's like, it's actually a little weirder than that. And it's kind of, you could also affix a lot of it to like Bernie bro isms and like, like dirtbag liberal, which I don't know if you guys know that, and like dime store, that neighborhood in New York City.
Dime Square.
Dime Square. Yeah. So anyway, what I'm saying is it's like, I found it not maybe as odious, its philosophical point of view, as a lot of people have over the years.
Yeah.
But I've definitely am feeling alienated from it because I'm finding it very silly. And I'll shut up. But my takeaway is that term that Pauline Kael would use for people like Norman Mailer and other kind of like hyper macho kind of guys. She would always refer to them as macho clowns. And this has a macho clown kind of mentality. And I find all the male problems and solutions to be I'm pretty alienated from them, and I'm finding it like really campy and uninteresting, because it's like the film starts for me, and I'm almost done. The film starts for me with sort of the general topic of how like we're getting hyper domesticated by creature comforts and convenience in Western society, and what that does to people. And in this case, in this film, it's about what it does to the male. And it's interesting, but then it gets very much into like just really hard guy philosophical dynamics. And it's just, if you're not on board, I'm not against the philosophy, but I'm not on board. So I was feeling pretty alienated. Right. Like I don't need to hear that message, and it's not an odious message to me, but it's just kind of like macho clown. It's kind of silly. It makes me just think, my last line is like, what's your problem? Just like smoke some pot and like, like eat ice cream and like go for a walk or something. What are you so fucking wound up about? Like, like calm down. That was my only response. So I found it sort of dissatisfying because I just couldn't relate to it. I was just like, what is this philosophy? It's like boring and corny.
So. No, it is. And man, there's so much I want to respond to in that. I know. I'm just like,
that's what we're doing, right?
I know.
Rewatch, roundtable.
I know. So Marcus, I'm going to let you go, and then I'll go, and then we'll figure out where we go from there. So Marcus,
are we responding? Are we doing origin stories or round?
Let's wait on the origin story and just go with like hard roundtable.
Yeah, just go.
Okay.
Like today's takeaway.
How did it hit you when you watch it on this watch, Marcus?
Yeah, I will say that I have watched it since David Bowie died, since the world got all weird in 2016. I have seen it since then. Okay. So I've already had the shock of like, wow, this seems like it inspired some few people or whatever. I've already had that moment with it where I was sort of sweating watching it, like, ugh, like cringing. Yeah. So this time I was more sort of watching it from a filmmaker perspective. I do like Fincher a lot, so I was trying to kind of like just observe. I've never watched it with like filmmaker eyes before, so that's kind of how I was viewing it this time. Yeah, but it is. I was actually watching it in fast forward too, so I wasn't like like a 1.5 speed, whatever. Yeah. So I wasn't. I've seen it a bunch, and I was just kind of refreshing my memory with it. So those moments weren't landing. The cringe moments probably weren't landing as hard for me this time.
Right.
What do you mean by that? Like they weren't feeling as cringy as they might have in the past?
He's already reevaluated them.
Yeah, I guess so. Just that first like post 2016 like rewatch of just like I watched Fight Club again, and then just kind of realizing all like the sort of how you could tie it to Proud Boys or like Antifa or whatever, that you could make it into a real world political scenario. Yeah, I already had that sort of shock the last time I watched it, which kind of did spoil it a little bit for me. I will say, but this time I was just trying to more watch it from, I guess I've already had that shock, so I was watching it from a more filmmaker perspective. Okay. But I'm so jazzed by the things that you were saying that I wanted to respond to those, but let Evan give his rewatch, and then maybe we can get into
We'll come right back around to that. Maybe I'll open it up too with mine a little bit. So for me, just quick, like it's hard to not talk about my origin story, so maybe I'll do both at the same time. Okay. Is because it's, for me, like when we talked about The Matrix, okay, a few weeks ago, and how big that movie, was for me. And being John Malkovich, all these movies coming out, and we were talking about, Clever is King in '99. I was actually reading through Roger Ebert's review of Fight Club, which is very funny. He kind of shits all over it. He gave it 2 stars, and he was sort of talking about how it suffers from the Kaiser Soze syndrome, of the time, which I think is another way
Usual
of saying.
Suspects.
Well, right. Right.
Yeah, Usual Suspects. So that's kind of another way of saying that. And so that was catnip to me in '99, learning about, films and getting into them. Fight Club was that type of movie where if you didn't know much about movies and you see this movie, you instantly think it's the greatest film that's ever been made, because it is very stylistic. It's, it zips along. It's got a weird, point of view perspective. It's very fun. It's very playful in the way it's put together. It's very violent. It's extreme. And then it has a shocking twist at the end. So as a kid, as a teenager, you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. But what it does is, and this is what I was laughing about so much when I was watching it, just, the other day in prep for this, is that like its messaging, it's whatever its philosophy is, the movie does kind of a bad job of telling you, are we supposed to take this philosophy at face value? Right. Are we supposed to be, is this Chuck speaking to us through Brad Pitt? Or is it like supposed to be a satire of, these sort of apathetic, or like a musing on finding purposefulness in nothingness, in sort of this weird postmodern way. So I don't know. To me, it kind of, I think what's funny about it is when it did come out, there was this butterfly effect that it had on impressionable, angry, white, probably male teenagers at the time who just absorbed all of this because life was shitty in 99 if you lived in the suburbs like I did. I mean, everything was getting homogenized. Starbucks is popping up, IKEA's popping up, all this stuff, and everything is getting synthetic, and there is kind of this apathy towards that sort of life. And I think this, but it's so funny to watch this movie and not knowing where the center of it is coming from,
right?
And how it inspired people in probably a negative way, more so than.
I have to say, with the first time I saw it, I did jive with it. Like I just to be clear, when I saw my origin story with it is I saw the billboards and I just saw that soap that had the word Fight Club cut into it, and I was like, I do not want to see that because it just.
You always say that. I love that.
I've probably been telling you that for like 20, 15
you were offended
years
by it. It offended you on an aesthetic level.
I have been talking about it for most of my life now. Yeah, it did offend me. It just seemed like it was going to be about nothing but like underground boxing clubs or something, and that just didn't appeal to me at all. But a friend of mine, post college, was like, "No, you have to watch this."
Yeah.
Because it goes someplace you're not expecting or whatever,
right?
And then just being sort of, I think I did identify with like the anti-commercialism vibe, like you're not what you own, and like I was refreshed that it wasn't just about underground boxing, even if the movie deflates a little bit towards the end, which we'll get into later. The fact that it goes someplace different and has this sort of like anarchist cookbook, kind of like
Definitely.
like terrorist cell side plot or the right turn that the plot takes.
But
to
like
me was
aggressive pranking, like it.
Right. Yeah, it was sort of like real world
trolling,
pranking, and then but it doesn't have. It's not mired in any sort of political thing. Like they're not like, all right, this one's for George Bush, and they blow up something. You know what I mean? So it's not like
Battle of L.A.
It doesn't necessarily feel like it's tied to anything. Although it, politically, although I think it is a reaction thing. I think it is reaction to the times when it was made, for me, it's like if this movie was made in the 80s, I don't think it would have done well because you had Reagan, this kind of fake macho guy as president, and I think that wasn't an era where people wanted to hear, like, it was like kind of the 80s was more like the 30-something era. Or so you didn't have this like macho, I think macho was like a symbol of cool then, but I think we had to go through the 90s where it was like, like I always thought this movie is like a reaction to like Ross on Friends, like he's like the nice guy. He's like, he's not the most masculine cast member of Friends, and I think a lot of people perceived him to be like super wimpy. I remember articles about it at the time, and I think that this movie was sort of like a reaction to that thing of the 90s of like the sensitive man, and so I think it worked for people in 99. But then I don't think this is not a movie that can be made and absorbed at any era. It has to be like right culturally, you know what I mean, for it to connect with people.
Definitely.
And I think that's just what happened in 99. It's just like sort of a reaction against just sort of wimpy like alt culture, and like let's get back to another point in time.
Well, there's so go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say, because just on top of that, like you were talking about, Tom, that it's not like an alt-right thing. It is. Also, or it's not just that way, because it is an anti-capitalist statement. It's an anti-consumerist viewpoint, right? But what I think is, just to put a bow on what I was saying, what I think is kind of interesting to look back at it, is that much like nu metal.
You motherfucker, start the tape again, because I was gonna bring up Limp Bizkit. You fucking motherfucker. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, let me open the nu metal, manhole here, because basically, much like with nu metal, it is like this easy outlet, for frustrated white boys, I think, at this time. And I think that people saw that in this movie. They weren't even paying attention to the ideology, the philosophy that's being thrown at them, which is dangerous. It just kind of shows you. It is weird because it just kind of shows how like any sort of like, ideology that's being, put in front of your face is going to influence you in one way or the other. But at the bottom,
that happens in the film.
That's what I'm saying.
He's scared when they start. What's the guy's name? They keep repeating it.
Robert Paulson.
Yeah, I am Robert Paulson. He gets a little alarmed by how his guys become drones.
Yeah, they become drones.
Right.
But it's like
you can't overlook that. Like things like Snowflake and Red Pill, those things were like hijacked for like overt political purposes, where it was more soupy and less politically aware.
No, it wasn't. And all I'm saying in '99 is that it wasn't like it like nu metal. It was an outlet for that whatever apathy that existed in that time period.
Yeah.
But it does. The film itself doesn't really ask viewers to think, or it doesn't ask viewers to even consider what this ideology is. It just stokes that anger, and I think think of it critically,
like you said, which was an interesting thought experiment.
Right.
Because I think, just to kind of answer what you were saying, is how much distance is there from the film and the philosophy espoused. And it really does feel like an espousing of philosophy.
Mansplaining.
The text of it is, I feel like there's no daylight. It's just a direct line, and which is interesting.
Yeah.
So if I quickly go to my origin story, because
please.
What's ironic is none of this happened in my appreciation of this film. I saw it like the 2 days after it came out, and I had recently had a huge breakup. I'd been going out with this gal for years, and we just broke up like just a month before.
Oh shit!
So I was in like this weird ornery mood, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm going to this fucking movie. I don't even know what it is." I was going to just anything, so I went to this. So what I'm saying is, I had no cultural context, and I'm just going to be a broken record for a second and kind of shut down my running narrative on 1999 here, and just say that I was really responding, firstly, to the style and the zippiness. That's the term I came up with this afternoon. It was like, I love, and more importantly, I miss the zippiness of films that are kind of left of center from like mainstream, Titanic-y kind of stuff. And like, that was what you could expect. And I remember when I watched Fight Club, and it was just 1999, I was like, you know what? Even things that are sort of action or dramas, they're getting like belly laughs. People were cracking the fuck up when I saw Fight Club. It was packed with people. They all cracked up and cheered, by the way, like when the little VW Bug got smashed up. By the way, I just want to report back on that, because that was a big cheering point. But what I'm saying is like, it was like, so I went in cold is what I'm trying to say. And it didn't have any context whatsoever, but I was doing the response to the zippiness. Now, the thing is, and I was reminded of this as I rewatched the film, that receded in the film and with my interest. And what I mean by zippiness, just to give an example, in this particular film, is like, like the Dust Brothers comes in, and there's a cataloging of all the expensive stuff in his fridge, right?
Yeah.
And there's like a graphic element that's superimposed over the contents of his fridge, like the price of like the olives, $10.99, right, that kind of thing.
The IKEA catalog.
Yeah, the IKEA catalog.
View.
Yes, Lady lives in IKEA catalog. And I was just like, and maybe this is in closing, because it's been this whole time in the 1999 movies, is I simply miss that, and I wish people would do even like a portion of that. But this film in the first half is very much like that. So it got me. I was completely engaged, and I wasn't really paying attention to the philosophy, and I wasn't paying attention to how more disconnected and disinterested I was. But I did have a really good time watching this film.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it quite spoke to me, but it did make me feel there was a general sense of disillusion, because I wasn't a yuppie, back then. I wasn't like buying expensive olives and lived in a condo. But I saw the shared general alienation of a dissatisfaction that was hard to put your finger on. And I think that, Marcus, too, you're making a good point about how like some people thought maybe the male, what the male is, had gone adrift in the 80s, and it was signified by Alan Alda, like women love men who cry, you know, like, and for a lot of not just men, but a lot of women are like, I do, you know what I mean? Like, it could be a little shaky.
Oh,
and I just wanted to plant a seed. Robert Bly. I was reading some of his book in like 1990. Robert Bly got into that whole male bonding concept. And he was kind of this poet, and he got into that whole thing where like men go on these gatherings and they go shirtless and they just cry out into the moon. And like some might say it's macho clownery, but some also might say that it's tapping into something in the male of the species DNA about like bonding and feeling like that you're
sure.
It's hard to talk about this and not sound like oh, I really love Joe Rogan or something like that. Because I think what happens is stupid.
It's been hijacked.
Stupid people can cloud this stuff up, but I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with someone who exhibits what are stereotypically male characteristics that could also be a woman could do this, or whoever they identify as. I'm saying that these things aren't necessarily bad, where it's like because there's some lines in the film that I like, and then I'll shut up. Like the metaphors are like, you know what? Yeah. Last week, my ass was made of cookie dough. This week, it's carved out of wood. That is kind of cringe. Yeah. But I think that one of the byproducts of a very successful modern society, and now the 21st century in the West, where we have all convenience at our fingertips. Oh, what are we getting from Grubhub or whatever? It's like we're so adrift from being in the food chain. Yeah. And maybe that's okay. It's a success, but there's stuff in our DNA. And it's also, what does that do to a person? Not even a male, but like people who maybe are feeling in their bones a little too adrift from having any context other than just being a consumer. And that is kind of gross. And I did respond to that when I first saw the film, and I always will. I think that's the success of the first part of the film.
Can I bridge?
We are all basically like animals or like cavemen or something, but just dressed up and forced to live in this sort of like
we're eating Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a little different than having to like bring down another mammal.
Yeah, it is a plot point that exists in other films too. While you were talking, I was thinking about City Slickers for some reason, because that's the same sort of thing, right? Where it's like these guys are sort of like wimped out by society and have to go out and live rugged and try.
Deliverance.
Our
first episode.
Yeah. Real quick, because I just wanted to respond to one thing. You were talking about sort of the reboot of the male, in film or pop culture or whatever. And if you're going to do that, I mean, there's no better way to do that than with Brad Pitt, and those goddamn, what do you call them? Those muscles that go right down to your crotch,
abs. Six pack.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. It's the thing below the six pack.
It's below the six pack.
I think they're called dorsivals. I don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
I think that definitely was what helped this movie.
He's a well-built guy.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's this movie. I don't know. It's you were talking about the first third, or before we started recording, we were really talking about that. You're drilling down into the playfulness, the stylistic playfulness of the movie, which it does have in spades in that first part. I mean, when you are talking about all the classic Fincher sort of CGI camera almost stuff, or with all the overlays and things
and
like
the dark funniness of like the woman who's dying of cancer, like I have pornography, I just want to get laid one more time.
I have pornographic movies in my apartment and lubricants and anal nitrate.
Thank you, Chloe.
That's super pitch black,
favorite.
dark, hilarious weirdness.
Yeah, that's
like
my
all
favorite.
those meetings.
Yeah,
that was
my favorite.
wild to me when I saw that the first time.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That's what's kind of like the best part about this movie is this idea of its setting being in the support group, bouncing around from support groups so he can sleep.
Wow.
Like
it's cool.
That's
really what grabs you.
That's what grabs you,
like,
and
I noticed that it happened. I was looking at the clock, and that happened right at 10 minutes when he's like says like that's when I got addicted, and it cuts to all the. Yeah, and that's the I was thinking how Sid Field this movie really is. Even though it's got all this sort of unconventional elements, it's a really big story. But that is the first 10 minutes has to grab you, and right at that moment when he gets addicted to all the support groups, I'm in.
It's great.
That's great. And you have weird, quirky characters. You got Meatloaf with the bitch tits, and you got all these things that do bring you in. And it's always cool to see a big movie with big stars. Or Brad Pitt at least, and you're seeing scenes that are set in these very small, indie movie type locations and concepts, which is something that's missing obviously from the big movies and what was so cool about 99. And that first kind of third-ish half is great, but as it goes on, it really bogs down into the just hitting you over the head with this. The fighting, the
There's
violence.
a lot of like just straight up depiction of the fighting, like that one scene with the blonde guy,
Jared
Who's
Leto.
that famous?
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto getting fucking his ass handed to him. That's just brutal. And then also the mobster beating up Brad
love
Pitt.
that
I'm like,
scene.
can we just like
Yeah, I always
trim
want
this
to fast
stuff?
forward through that one.
Jesus,
Well, can
man.
I-
Like,
when
not
Jared
interesting.
Leto.
The Jared Leto
Go ahead.
thing. I was just going to say the one thing about the Jared Leto scene, and then we'll take it to you, because I had that on my list of things to talk about for sure, is that scene, even though I love this movie when I was 14, whatever it was, even though I really love this movie, that sequence made me always ill. Like I would fast forward through that because it was so fucking brutal of him getting beat up, and it triggered me even just watching on the rewatch. And what I'm triggered by is one of my big childhood haunts. We talk about the things that we saw when we were too young, whatever that left an indelible impression on me. Just probably a handful of years before this, and this will show my age, but I remember when I was way too young, and my dad was watching Casino on VHS, and I was like, "Hey, what are you watching?" And it happened to be the scene with the guy's head in the vice.
Dude. You make me pop your fucking eye out.
Yeah, right, exactly. And every time I see Jared Leto in this movie, I think of that guy's fucking eye, Paul.
Yeah.
It's that level of brutality.
It is. It is.
It is brutal.
Specifically, facial disfiguring brutality.
It is.
It's awful.
Really
It's
makes
awful.
you feel horrible. Although once I found out more about Jared Leto, that I don't feel as bad watching that scene now.
He got off easy. Considering no. But if we want to linger on this scene for a moment, it's just like, so am I supposed to respond with the thinking about a gay subtext? Like, what's going on here? Like, because the guy is objectively cute. So is Brad Pitt, though.
Yeah,
so
man.
it's like,
man.
So, but Ed Norton, he ain't. So it's like, what am I responding to here? Like, it was like, because I think I even was mumbling to myself, like, got to beat the cute guy out of you. It's like that's all I was getting at, because I want to kiss you. It's like, am I the only person?
I don't know.
Like, feeling like maybe
I
there's
don't
a
know.
subtext?
I just read it as he was jealous that guy might usurp his place with Tyler or whatever. That's why I thought why he
to make an example out of him. Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what they're showing in the movie. He's like sort of patting him on the back, and he's
What's
getting
the
closer
plot?
to him,
But I'm just saying subtext.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. But I do have to also fucking shout out to the woman with cancer scene as well too. That is one of the best moments. I have lubricants. I have amyl nitrate.
I have like pornographic magazines. And of course, it does that thing that I guess always happens when you speak louder and closer to the mic. It starts feeding back. It's like some kind of classic signifier. Like, I've got. If that would happen, like
when you start saying something awkward in the microphone, it starts
right,
back.
like cue feedback. Yeah, no, but otherwise, she looks great, and that's no, and also the other thing. This is maybe like the ultimate zippy thing that made me get really giddy again when I first saw the film, and we can move on from the zippiness, but the last totemic zippy thing for me is spirit animal, like you're in the cave and like you're sliding down with like penguins, and I'm like, when do they do that now? Like, that is not a thing that happens now at all. A big film that gets like weird with like a big set piece, and it's like it's a head trip.
There's a lot of great ideas in the way that he tells the story in the beginning, and he's talking to the camera, the narrator talking to the camera. And I think that's what I liked about it initially. Is I felt like when I first saw it and I was younger, I was like, wow, this movie really captures like a novel. It does capture that like perspective of a narrator in a novel in a very effective way. I thought back then. I don't know, I don't know. I think that goes along with the zippiness or whatever. It's just like how it's told.
Yeah. But it's weird because that transition into
we're talking about how it slides.
The second half,
where do we go?
We get into this kind of cult, I guess, for lack of a better term, with first you see that scene, of course, which again, God, I just remember this so well seeing the first time. But the scene with the chemical burn, where we're gonna burn his hand.
That was the beginning of me losing it a bit on the film.
Yeah.
Because it's too long. It's very belabored, in my opinion. And that's macho clown.
Yeah.
Not to take over what you're saying, but just that to me signifies macho clown. Like, I'm so fucking tough. Like withstanding needless pain. It's like, just go fucking eat a candy bar. And watch TV. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Like, that's just my only takeaway. And I know the film doesn't want me to feel this way. It's just like, all right, guys, calm down. Like, just,
Yeah. It is stronger in the beginning when you see stuff like the mid-air collision. That moment,
great.
is so good. It stays with you. But I think there is other good scenes like in the second half of the movie,
Help
like
us
when he
out.
quits his job. That's a pretty like
when he beats
all-time
himself
scene,
up.
I think when he goes in and tells the boss or whatever, like when he quits his job. You don't like that part
where he beats himself up? That scene?
Well, I guess so. Or when he sort of blackmails his boss into giving him a paycheck for like a whole year or whatever.
Which is right out of American Beauty, by the way.
Yeah, totally.
1999. Oh, right.
Totally. But him sort of beating himself up, I always found that was weird because, it's very, I don't know, kind of juvenile, but the idea
it looks weird when he's like punching himself in the face.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it looks like almost Monty Python in a bad way.
Jerry Lewis. No, of him beating hey now. But him beating himself up, but it's like, man, like, there's no physical evidence of, the boss, getting into a fight, like he's not, like.
Yeah, no, I got you.
That wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I know.
It's
a little weird.
And again, it's and I feel, and this is maybe a theme I'm starting to pick up on here, it's a little belabored. I think the film could be maybe crispier in the second half. They brought it down. Like, if they just, because I think this guy was a little too in love with all these set pieces. It's a very set piecey movie, and it's like, bring it in. It's a little indulgent. It's 2+210 or something. So it's just like that could have not happened for me, or like I guess what I'm saying is like, and I'll open it to you guys, is like, even in that part of the movie, it's like, I don't care if, when, and how he lost his job. Like, what was that? And then if we have a momentum in the narrative, it's like, okay, like, and then there's a lot of redundant shit that goes on in the movie. Like, by the time they're in the car and they're doing macho talk, like, how do you want to be remembered, or what? It's like, painting a self-portrait, build a house, and it's just like, it's getting very repetitive for me, like another kind of burn the hand, kind of like dare kind of thing about like, crashing the car. It's just like, all right.
It's belaboring.
Well, quitting the job is just that, it's that pathos, or it's that sort of like burst of relief that you get in the 90s. Like, it's in a Office Space, he quits his job.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The Matrix, I'm assuming he quits his job, whatever. American Beauty, like you said, that's the moment for us.
And Malkovich, like a bad office.
And Malkovich,
generally speaking, like weird bad offices.
Yeah, that's a huge part of what's going on in this time period, is this idea that as a society, we're just, we talked about it last week, we're just becoming these drones and, working for a capitalist society, and these. Well,
what do they say? Like, if you take a zoom out on your life to a regular office going person, it's like your whole life is that you charge your battery, and you are the battery, and the battery charges at your domicile, your home, and then the battery charges, and you just go and drain that battery in the office. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people started abstracting like what the process is of their day-to-day life, and they find it very it's not very rewarding. Well, there's a lot of work from home these days, so that
well, it's funny that not only is it like this duality between your office life, which is all clean in every one of these movies, and then your home life was disgusting Tyler Durden house, in the Matrix, the real world's disgusting too, but also just the Avatar thing is still going too, that you're somebody else, in this movie. And when you're asleep, you're actually sleepwalking around being your dream guy, your dream version of yourself. In the Matrix, you're being somebody, you're being the dream version of yourself. Being John Malkovich, you're being somebody else.
Hey, Office Space, Like there's this quiet revolution in a boring, shitty cubicle office where he's like cutting a fish on his desk.
Yes.
Is that 99?
Yep.
That
Yeah,
is
it is.
99.
It is.
Oh,
We just
God.
Yeah.
He's also being an alternate version of himself.
Yeah,
where he's,
yeah.
like, hypnotized.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I mean, you guys are younger than me, but it's like I didn't work in no fucking office in 1999, so like I couldn't relate to it either. I was just like, wow, it sucks to be you. Like I was just like, is that what's going on? Like I've never really been an office-y guy, so it's like.
But that was
I'm
so
insane,
in the
but
zeitgeist.
I knew I'd never wanted to be part of that world. I knew I didn't want to be part of that corporate world.
I mean, who would? Like,
No, of course not. But that was so in the zeitgeist. And every one of these movies is a guy in an office, a white guy in an office, who's protesting and leading some revolution out of the office environment. And one thing, so when you were talking about sort of the sort of what's his name from Friends? Was it Joey? Is that who you were
Ross.
talking? Ross. Sorry. Excuse me.
Swimmer.
Yeah, come on, get it right.
Jesus Christ, Swimmer. Yeah. But the idea of like, how there's this panic around the demasculinization of men, the emasculating idea, and we're sort of imprisoned in this modern life kind of thing with this movie. That's kind of what at least the first half is really getting at, right? We're trying to take back the masculinity, and we're trying to break free from our materials and all that stuff. But what I'm trying to understand is, okay, now I get that from the point of view of the Fight Club, okay? I get that with the idea of where we're going with the Fight Club. Project Mayhem, though, help me out with, because what I don't understand is how come the end goal is just trolling the world, with erasing VHS tapes, turning around rental car spikes, or blowing up
like college
Joker
pranking,
like Joker pranks.
No, I know. Actually, I'm really glad you're saying this because I never realized that, but that's been confusing to me because what I would think that they would want to do is evangelize.
Yes.
And spread the word.
Which I think is what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to
grow.
do.
But what I'm saying is if you do all the pranks, that doesn't evangelize and grow your point of view. It doesn't share your point of view.
Yeah.
In fact, it alienates people like, fuck, I didn't rent my movie, or this thing made me late in traffic. So it's just alienating. And of course, a building collapses. So,
well, that's my thing is like, just real quick my question is that supposed to be taken as satirical? Like, is that showing that this is the cautionary part of this tale that is being told here? Is that the end?
That must be somewhat in there because, the lead character, and I think we as the viewer gets more and more alienated from the disciples, and like they become a threat. They want to cut his balls off.
Right.
Like it's that kind of thing where it's like you've made this monster and now it's going to consume you and everyone around you. Which some people feel that even about like it hasn't happened, but like Donald Trump, if they were to turn on him, that kind of thinking hasn't happened yet narratively with Trump. Right. But that is a possible fear when you grow the thing and it's a Frankenstein. You grow it, it's disproportionate.
Maybe that is
you lose the control.
Okay.
Of it. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that is sort of what they're saying with that, Marcus.
I was sort of curious about this too, and so I was looking into the novel before because I'd never read it, and so Chuck, I guess it grew out of like a writing class he was taking, where they were encouraging you to write like very minimalist prose based it on like intense personal experiences, So that was like where a short story that came out of that turned into Fight Club came out of. But one thing is he was a member of something called the Cacophony Society.
Oh boy.
And it is like sort of prankster type group, it sounds like early kind of like, what is it when you text everyone to show up at one location dressed like Elmo
it's like a
something?
SantaCon.
Kind of like thing. A flash mob. It's kind of like an 80s kind of flash mob. Yeah. Like maybe you could throw a party and do something kind of anarchic prank type thing,
Pranks.
Yeah, so I think that's what it came out of. So it's probably, it might be something where he's not thinking it out too much, but he's basing it on his own life,
on his own thing. Because Evan's totally right. It's like, okay, there's a few layers here of like, back to the philosophy of the text of this guy, more than anything else in a way. Because everything's driven by that in this film, is like it's confused. And I think Mark's maybe hit on something where he's not really 100% on like his themes. There's anti-consumerism.
Yep.
And then that doesn't automatically dovetail you into the emasculation of males. That is not, they're not intertwined, but he does fuse them.
They're
It's
in a
sort of
relay.
like
Yeah.
we've all become like neutered and we're all like,
Yeah.
you know, Martha Stewart, like men are like wearing aprons and let's make muffins, honey, with their wife and stuff. And I guess you could get into that. That's sort of a connection. But then, the pranking, it sort of relates to consumerism where it's like you're destroying Apple, like
A
computers,
Starbucks. Yeah.
a Starbucks. Yeah. But that's like, but that tactic is so kind of cringe and boomer. We'll fucking blow up the Starbucks. It's like not interesting. It's not clever. And it's just kind of brute and one for one where it's like, there it is, make the thing stop happening.
Well, that's why,
which just, I find boring. It's,
I
but
agree
is that,
with you.
but then where does the male thing come in? Back to, I'm saying circle back to the emasculated male. I guess men are finding their identity through their rebellion against consumerism.
Yeah, well, I know
that's a bit of a stretch.
I know.
Like,
That's why I'm wondering I was wondering if the author is sort of saying that, okay, it starts here, with being anti-capitalist, taking back the male, whatever, and then and then he's demonstrating how it butterfly effects into, something
exponentially
way more toxic,
it becomes
and
uncontrollable,
pointless, and stupid. Because that would be better if that were true. But because the one thing I want to say real quick is I think the danger of this movie, and I've talked about on other shows we've done about whenever Joker comes up, how I talk about how Joker is bad for society. And this movie is very Joker core for sure.
It is.
It is, and I know, and Jokers are bad for society. I think it is. It's a bad sort of figure for our culture. But
it's a
what
villain,
No, but I mean, like, people do want to act out their Joker urges, when they see Joker shit. And in this, it's kind of similar because this movie did indoctrinate a generation. It did. People thought they were enlightened after seeing this. I was reading an article today where a guy, and I remember hearing about this after this movie came out. There were people starting fight clubs in their high schools.
Yeah, I remember that.
And like, so people were interpreting the messaging of this movie, very much as if Tyler Durden was standing in front of them, giving him a chemical burn.
Can I bring up a point, because this is, I didn't know quite where this conversation was going to go. This is very interesting, like the flaws of the text, because there's a lot of problems I have as we again are racing towards the end of this film. And I just realized something for me. That could be an interesting thread if he didn't get distracted by the big reveal of like, it's the same guy. Just having a personality crisis. Because that throws everything. Because, again, when I first saw the film, I didn't know that was happening. And then, then all bets are off because it makes you reevaluate the entire film you've seen up to that frame. And so it's like, and then that's kind of the rest of the film for me. And the film itself has another long, bad, needs to be cut down scene of the fight between those two. Very boring.
At the
end. Really
end.
drags the film. Right? That is awful when he drags down into their fight. But no, but I'll just say the last little thing is you're getting into something that is intriguing about like a critique of something exponentially getting out of control. But am I wrong? Does the film just completely lose any of that possible momentum towards that concept with just breaking down to this very base kind of like plot twist? It just hijacks the rest of the film, and then I'm just done with the film.
It does.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, because it overshadows it, and then immediately it becomes the gimmick of the whole thing.
It's the whole thing.
And then, Marcus, were you going to say something?
I mean, I think that was his sort of plan. We're getting into the era of like the DVD rewatchability of movies and directors making a movie and thinking about that. Like, how are people going to enjoy this movie when they at home, and rewatch it? And so that's why he's got all those flash frame,
Easter eggs.
He's got all the subliminal flash frames and that sort of thread. It's threaded through the whole movie, I think, with that intention. Is
he walks by, like he passes by Brad Pitt before he's a character.
I mean, I don't know. This Fincher, like, is he super? He doesn't feel like he was trying to make a political statement as much as he's just trying to make a movie that people enjoy. And like, I think Office Space, you could probably critique the politics of that and say it's bad for society too. That he's stealing or whatever. A penny, or whatever. he's not working, he's getting paid or whatever. You know,
that movie's so fresh compared to this one.
It is.
Sure, but I mean, like,
and it's still bad, but I love it.
I love Office.
It's shaggy. Let me just put it
So
that way. No, but
funny.
Marcus, do you mind? Like this is what we're talking about. It's like, what do you think of the script here? Do you feel that it does get derailed by this really obtuse plot twist?
Well,
that's like the Sixth Sense kind of like.
Yeah,
plot
but
twist,
I'm saying, not the fact of the plot twist, but like what it is. But I'm saying like the function of it, kind of like just like sitting down and like enveloping the rest of this film that was kind of somewhat going somewhere with this narrative flow about the exponential,
right,
out of control rise. And I don't know. Are you seeing that? What do you think? Like about how that plot twist, does it overshadow the rest of the film at the end of the film?
Definitely. But I think that's what the film is about. A guy that couldn't sleep.
We all agree.
And did all this crazy shit in his, in his alter ego. I think that is what the movie's about. Like what you would do, what your alter ego would do or is capable of.
I'm just talking about like how does it ruin maybe some other kind of plot?
Is maybe
anyway,
and I haven't read the book either or anything. I was just sort of feeling that, Fincher in '99. After coming off of The Game and Seven and all these,
I love The Game, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. The Game's
underrated.
tight. I love Seven. I'll watch Seven any day of the
Seven,
week.
yeah.
I love Seven. But the thing
I
is,
like Seven too, but it's got a lot of like by the books kind of like cop buddy, tropey type movie too.
I'm down for a serial killer investigative film.
At the time, it was very fresh.
It's very fresh.
Obviously, it was hugely influential, and it looks a little less fresh, but that was some wild shit.
I just have some fun with it. I have fun with it. But the thing is with this movie is, and Fincher being so, expert craftsman, he's such a technical craftsman, that I think the way that he chose to make this movie is so seductive. Everything about it is seductive.
Yes.
Fucking Brad Pitt's cum gutters are seductive. His
that's the term.
There it is.
That's the medical term.
Yeah, his cum gutters. Like the way he speaks, he's so charismatic. He's a cult leader. I mean, he's everything about it, the way it's shot, the way it's filmed.
It's using cinema techniques. To make it intoxicating.
It is,
and I fell under its spell. I had, there's the thing called festival fever. You're at a film festival and you watch this film, and you're on your feet for like whiplash, like cheering.
Yeah, I know.
That happened to me.
Yeah.
Cut to Tom 10 years ago.
My point, but the point of me bringing that up is because what I was trying to say is that I think Fincher's choice to take the material and make it as seductive as possible, I think takes your layman viewer and it goes completely over their head in terms of any type of, real messaging that we're trying to say, and instead might indoctrinate, a Ozfest 99 type of person, and I think that's maybe a flaw with it, but an unintentional flaw. It's like, because it's so seductive stylistically that you might lose at the center of it what was being trying to be said with the message of this real movie.
He's too good at making a big candy movie that you want to just chomp on. Yeah. No,
yeah, definitely. And it's sort of visionary in a way. Like he's using digital effects to tell a story that you don't necessarily need digital effects to tell. You know what I mean? I think he did the same with Zodiac, where he's got an eye for being able how to apply computer effects that most people would just use for like an action sequence for like Phantom Menace or something. Dude. How to apply those to just a movie with some guys in a house or whatever.
My favorite of that, my favorite pointless, Fincher exercise in CGI that was not needed is in Panic Room. There's a shot when the camera just travels through like a coffee maker handle, for no reason, just to go to the other side of the room.
Just because it can, bro.
Just because it can,
We all love it. This is our second bite in the Fincher apple, right? We like Fincher.
We do.
We really love Zodiac. No, but like, I do want to stay on this intoxicating thing because I think you are sort of playing with fire. Like, what other thing can you think of, film, where it's like, it's so like pretty candy cane, kind of like shiny object, but has like kind of a strange sort of debatably twisted philosophy,
right?
Like it's the movie rocks, you know what I mean? And like here's one example, just kind of what you guys are saying. I wouldn't say it's needless, but like in the sex scene, they're using like really state of the art, like slow mo, like frame advancing, and of course dropping like hard
Good.
like trip hop beats, and
it's bullet time. It's like bullet time too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That contextual. But what I'm saying is, it's like, how can I interpret that any other way than just like, let's have a fucking rock out with your cock out time at the movies?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and also it makes you feel like, can I take this film seriously? Really?
Yeah.
Like, is this just a roller coaster ride? So I think that it's kind of at odds with itself in a way, and I do like seeing a more restrained Fincher because he doesn't do that kind of shit in Zodiac.
No,
and I think it's, and I wonder if he feels like that's the tone that the book deserves, is to have this kind of candy cane,
probably
shiny object thing.
Yeah, I think that's what he was thinking at the time. I bet he was thinking, just again, like Brad Pitt, the fashion, of this movie was peak, for what it was at the time. Now we look at this and we want to kill ourselves. But it's like all of it at the time is like the coolest of the cool, the most seductive possible, the most badass. You could possibly be, is to be like, fuck the world, man. This is what we're gonna do, and now it just looks super cringe when you look back on it. I just think it's interesting just how his maybe a theory, his interpretation of it being so stylistically, music video in your face, fucking, rock and roll, just actually maybe did a disservice to something the author was trying to get to, perhaps.
I wonder.
Because there's no point in the script, in the movie where you stop and think about anything that you've seen. You're just like, yeah, that sounds interesting. That sounds interesting.
It's a sensory overload.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do think that, like, at the end, Ed Norton's trying to stop it, whatever he's put into effect.
Right.
He is like trying to stop whatever.
Right.
So he kills himself, or whatever, the bad guy. He kills the Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And so Brad Pitt pays for his crime, and even though we do see the credit card buildings blow up, and we know that there's nobody
in the Twin
inside.
Towers in 9/11.
We know there's nobody
So
inside
spooky.
them, though. We know it's just wiping out credit
It's empty.
scores or whatever.
Right.
So I think it's like, it's not trying to be. I don't know. I think it is. It does follow. It has some morality there, where he's like,
It does.
Hey, I stopped this from happening, or I stopped the bad thing from happening. Now we can just date.
You're talking about the story. I mean, Evan, what you're saying is, I thought there was kind of another problem with the end of the film is he's still trying to rock and roll through the movie, and it's still not really slowing down. Like, you still see, like he gets into montagey zippiness, even at maybe the last act of the film, where he should have really calmed things down tonally to differentiate it from the part that's more rock and roll. Because even Malkovich has tone shifts.
Yeah, it does.
And this doesn't.
No, but let me clarify. Is like, I think you're right, Marcus. It does have a moral center, of course. I think it gets overshadowed by the ending, or the twist, rather. And I'm just saying, we don't really get that moment of, I feel like, in this movie, trying to figure out what is this all about, or why is this bad, or and I'm not saying all movies need to have a morality to them, but at any chance that you're gonna have that awareness, that moment, it's kind of taken from you, because then you're again seduced by a clever twist in a plot.
And the filmmaking is still being zippy and clever too, even right to the end.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, it ends on a rock and roll note.
I know,
the
it
big
really
drop
does.
with the Pixies.
Yeah.
It's like it's
That's
all
the
still,
part that annoys me the most, honestly.
but what I'm saying, just to keep it this concept we're talking about, it's just like the film is relentless in its sensuality. In that sense, I don't mean like sexual, but like it's the roller coaster ride, your eyes and ears, and like I would like to maybe have seen a film that does reduce that, and it's worthwhile and it's valuable, and it starts having, it's letting, well, first of all, our main character, it's sinking in, and it's sinking into us as the viewer, not in a moral sense necessarily, but in like the film having more depth, because it's very, very surfacey, this film. And but it's playing with deep stuff. So it's a little odd.
Very surfacey.
It's a little odd to be so surfacey, to the last frame.
It does play very juvenile, like, as I said, like that's, it's very surface level.
Yeah. I noticed this time that it starts with like a little bit, the music, the very first note of the movie is like a little bit of like movie orchestrated music, like dun, 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 and then it goes, and then goes, there's like a record rip,
Which is
and it goes
so cringe.
straight into the Dust Brothers song.
DJ changed that record to like a trip hop.
I know. It is. It's like this ain't your dad's movie.
Oh, exactly. Like tell grandma we got a new sheriff in town. Channel.
So I do think I think that is the core intention of the movie, is to like make a movie that feels very modern, feels 99. This ain't your dad's movie, you know, and it doesn't let up. You're right. And that's why it ends with that fucking Pixies song.
Yeah.
It's very Gen X.
You know, like it's like we have to let's harness the power of this song to give some emotional heft to the end of this movie, or otherwise,
because it's supposed to be a relationship, which is very underfed. Their relationship. Can I bring up actually a complimentary thing that maybe speaks to what we're talking about, like when and if, and there should have been more depth to this film. There is one quiet scene that I like, it resonated with me when I first saw it. They're in the bathtub. Do you remember this? And they're talking about their parents and their fathers.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm 30, and it's like, is the best thing, is the solution for me finding a good woman or not? Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. It's a nice scene. And it's real quiet, and I feel that that's an important part of the book, and I think that Fincher gives it nice time, and the whole scene is just two actors' faces in a room, and the movie really calms down, and I feel that by having that breath, it does resonate more. What do you guys think?
Totally, yeah.
I caught that scene this time too. I was focusing on the foreshadowing more, because I heard him say like, "Oh, my dad traveled around." Ed Norton says, "My dad traveled around and set up a new family every 6 years," you know, and then Brad Pitt's like, "Sounds like he's opened up a franchise."
Yeah,
you know, it's just what they do later on in the movie.
Right.
No, but I think they do. The writer and the director, I do think they succeed in having some depth, and it just hints that the movie could have had some more of that.
Two quick things.
Could use that, yeah, for sure.
Two quick things before we run out of time. One is just a scene just to talk about. I remember it kind of, you know, left a bad taste in my mouth when I saw it then. And also now, the scene where and it is a turning point. I think it is one of the first turning points where Ed Norton's character starts to be like, okay, this guy isn't the fucking Messiah. Something is wrong here. The scene where he takes the convenience store owner outside and points a gun to his
that's
head.
good.
Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah.
No, I think that's a great scene, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it always just kind of was like, ooh, man, I felt so bad for the guy, you know, and, you know, putting the gun to his head and being like, you know, if you're not enrolling in veterinarian school in 6 weeks, you know, I'm going to fucking kill you or whatever. But then I'm like,
keep an eye on you and I'll kill you.
I was like, dude, you took his fucking ID. Like, how is he going to enroll into fucking school? It's going to take more than 6 weeks to get a new fucking ID. Like,
well, there's the practicality of that.
I know.
Yes, but I do appreciate, I think, again, if, you know, this film can be, the text of it can be appreciated philosophically. And I think that, I'm not saying like I agree with that philosophy even, but I found that a somewhat fresh voice, philosophically speaking, in pop culture. Because again, it just gets back to the stupid thing I've been saying earlier. It's just like how afield we are. Yeah. You know, we're not in the food chain. You know, that's the bottom line. Like we used to have to kill and eat, or we'd be killed and eaten. And a guy like this, I don't think he's right in doing it necessarily, but it's interesting. What if any of us were confronted by mortality in like right in our face to face with mortality, and how that might really change you? And I found that just sort of philosophically interesting, because we otherwise don't have to do that, because we're just going to use our phone to get Uber Eats and get the new pizza place stuff that everyone's talking about. You know, that's what we think about all day.
That's the cold open for sure. But also interesting, you know, we were talking about how the movie has definitely got that anti-capitalist, anti-material.
Made by a huge corporate company.
Well, no, I wasn't going to say that irony. How about this? How about this irony? Outside of maybe The Matrix, is there a movie that produced more merch from 1999? I mean, I guess Star Wars, but you know,
it's hard to compete with.
No, I mean like Fight Club for being such an anti-materialistic film.
There's Fight Club merch,
dude. The poster, the Fight Club poster in Spencer's Gifts, motherfucker, was probably an all-timer. You know, at Spencer's
we
Gifts.
got to get one for Marcus.
The shirt, I know.
Big
I do
cut
kind of
bar
want
soap poster.
I was watching this one thinking, I do kind of want Tyler's shirt at the very end.
Hey, I always like that too. It's like a pattern of like martial arts movie.
Oh yeah,
graphics.
I do kind of want.
I'm
that.
sure you can get that. Somewhere.
Or no, it's like Pam Grier or something like blaxploitation. Yeah,
he's doing his 70s. He's like, I'm cool because I dress 70s. Like,
well, he's Gen X. You know, it's
right.
like, this is a very Gen X movie.
Yeah,
like, And I think that as much as anything, it is echoing the baby boomer Alan Alda father.
Yeah,
like under the hood, the child who's come of age with crying fathers, which is a very boomer to Gen X thing.
The Gen X thing is so apt because like it's not like they're not like political necessarily. It's just like fuck everything. I'm never gonna get anywhere. Everything sucks. Left and right sucks. Like I'm just gonna check out of society and do my own thing, right? And I think it's like this movie got rolled into another generation that was more politically minded later on. But for Gen X, it's just sort of like, fuck all this. Like, I don't really have a problem with the credit card getting wiped out, or credit card buildings getting destroyed. It's
I don't even have a credit card.
Honestly. Right. I don't want one, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
no, totally.
It's a trendy nihilism. It's very Gen X.
Totally. Trendy nihilism.
Yeah.
And it is funny.
Sex Pistols.
Totally. And it is funny also to note, like, this movie it wasn't a hit out of the gate. This movie was
it was a
box
bomb.
office bomb. It actually only grossed $37 million, and it was a $63 million film budget-wise. So this film really took on a life of its own, on that DVD with the fucking soap on the cover, Marcus. And it kind of took on a life of its own. And that's what I think the whole thesis of this hour is that, like, Project Mayhem took on a life of its own, and this movie really did, and it got co-opted and by so many different groups and ideologies and everything. And I kind of want to know, it's like, I always find that interesting when somebody puts something out into the world and then it just takes on a whole life of its own that maybe they didn't originally intend. It is scary. It is scary.
Like to be the creator of something, and it's like, I
know
this is not what I was going after.
Pepe
Whoa,
the Frog, whatever. It's the Pepe the Frog movie. So it's crazy. It's interesting. So, well, I hope everybody enjoyed it. That was our 1 fucking hour on Fight Club, man, fucking boom. Yeah, ding.
It's an interesting film to cover.
It is, and it's so funny to watch again.
And we did it. That's 1999, everybody.
That's it.
The 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. I had a great time.
Me too. I love watching these movies. They're very watchable. They're very comforting, because it's a time and a place we remember. But then it's so funny to see them, 25 years later with just a little bit of hindsight and
kind of hobbling towards you, like, like it's like the bar lights went up at Last Call, and it's like,
right.
Whoa,
Yeah.
Who's I talking to here?
Yeah, very fun particular period of film, and it's fun to see the similarities.
Oh yeah,
it is weird to see so many strong movies come out that year. I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe it was like, there's that definitely Y2K, fin de siècle, whatever kind of like mentality of like, the world could end. I'm gonna do my big put everything I've got into this.
Sure.
Make my statement now before I can't anymore. I really, I do think that was part of it. That influenced a lot of stuff in the 1890s too. People thought the world was going to end, and
that's next month, guys. We're doing
1899
movies.
Well, I meant like literature or something.
All these like 10-minute French silent shorts.
Lumiere brothers.
Lumiere.
All 1899.
Lumiere month, everybody. Next fucking month, get ready. It's Lumiere month, everybody. Get ready for
That's what I'm trying to say.
Train coming to the station.
Train robbery.
Yeah, the great train robbery.
Hell yeah, fool.
So, all right, but let's actually talk about what is next week, because we definitely took a little pivot. We were going to do one thing, then we're going to do another thing, and then as things happen in real life, we lose interesting personalities in cinema. And, Ryan O'Neal passed away just a couple days ago. Interesting figure in movies, but in some
he's many things to many different people. So some people are like, what? The Paper Moon guy died?
Yeah, right.
Or it's like, what? Yeah. Like Barry Lyndon died? That's what Marcus said. He'd called me. Barry Lyndon died. He was inconsolable. But there's some people
Dude, Barry Lyndon.
For Ryan Neal, he's the
Well, he's also the tough guys don't dance guy.
That's right.
Which we sort of
oh man.
Oh God.
Man, oh God.
Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God. Oh man. Oh God. Oh man.
we've had this on our short list for a while. At least I have, for something to talk about, because it's very interesting backstory. It's a Baby Got Backstory episode for sure. You got Norman Mailer, you got now Ryan O'Neal, R.I.P., and it's a weird ass fucking what the fuck movie as well too. It's a very fun watch, very crazy watch. So we're gonna get into it, and we're gonna bring I think one of the biggest Tough Guys Don't Dance fans that I know is Lars Nilsson, and
maybe on the planet.
He is, and I actually the first time I ever saw the movie was at an Alamo Drafthouse screening that he hosted, actually. So I saw it.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's perfect. So that's why I immediately thought of Lars. I texted him before we hit the record tonight, and he said, I'm in. So next week is going to be one fucking hour on Tough Guys Don't Dance for Rip Ryan O'Neal. And Lars is going to be on to
it's going to be a rip roaring Rip Ryan episode.
Rip Ryan.
I did it.
There you go. Oh, that's awful. Rip Ryan next week on the show. Jesus Christ. That needs to be a t-shirt. We need t-shirts, Marcus.
Yeah.
Everybody's
good. That's a good time.
Chop.
Everybody's talking about where are the one fucking hour t-shirts. So I'm going to say it on the air.
Okay.
So we can get some more comments. People want them. Comment right now if you're watching this on YouTube. Would you be into a one fucking hour t-shirt? Yes or no? Let us know. Because I know people are wanting Momin shirts. I get requests for Momin shirts. Rip Roaring Rip Ryan. or my favorite one fucking hour possible tee is Fredo Shot First would be a great one fucking hour shirt.
I would legit wear that, like purple, white leather.
Fredo.
Marcus, seriously.
That is
Fredo Shot First.
One of the craziest brain farts on.
Why did we say that? Why did that happen?
You were talking about Star Wars at some point, like the new ones, were Fredo Shot First. It was just like
I misspoke. Yeah.
You just misspoke, and it was fucking perfect.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. So stay tuned for those. That would be a great little thing to have for people to support the channel. But also another thing to support the channel is if you want to sign up on patreon.com/onefuckinghour, $5 a month. And if you enjoyed our conversation on 1999, man, we are just about to hit record right now. After now finishing this, we're about to record just going to town on the year 1999. All the movies we didn't get to go in long form on. We're just going to rapid fire through a bunch of movies, get some hot takes and some opinions on. So if you want to watch one fucking hour on 1999, head over to patreon.com/onefuckinghour. Or if you're on YouTube, scroll under this video, click the join button, and become a mom of the show. And that's just $5 a month. And hey, man, same perks, same benefits, either on YouTube or Patreon, your choice, no big deal. All right, guys. Well, I kind of, that was kind of a little spoiler there because, the last part of the show, everybody knows what it is. We can't leave you without your moment of Zen. Okay, everybody, have a good rest of your week, and we will catch you for Tough Guys Don't Dance. Rip Ryan next week. All right, everybody, take care. See you later. Peace out. All right. Bye. See ya.
Are you running? Good, because I'm running, and I'm not going to run very long.
Fight shirts.
No, it's the suit.
Well, the suit should...
It won't fit in the makeup chair, except then you have to put the tight t-shirts over your face.
Now that's a look.
I like that, Bob.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.